Bio-Mutant is a game we and probably you have been anticipating for some time, but it's also been some time since we've gotten an update on it. Here to give us an update is creative director Stefan Ljungqvist. Thanks so much for virtually joining us here.
It's a pleasure. Just to see somebody else, for a while.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I know. Yeah, with no face mask on. What's
exactly.
Such a treat. Okay, so Bio-Mutant is a game our IGN audience is super excited for, but we haven't seen it since, I believe, Gamescom 2018, almost 2 years ago. What have you guys been up to?
Oh, it's a huge game. It's the biggest game I worked on, and I worked on a few other big games in my time. So, sure. And we are a small team, right? So we really, put ourselves in went into a cave. That's the office. And really start working hard on all of the details of this huge world. It's 8 by 8 kilometers, right? It's a huge open world game with so many interlinked features. So it's a quite complex and challenging development also. And especially when you move into the later phases of the development, when you're actually starting, to QA all of these features and the openness of the game and, the nature of all of the different combinations that you as a player, because you have a quite wide, extensive toolbox, have at your disposal, can cause, more challenges, bugs to solve, for example. And also then being a small team, that means that the amount of hands we have on deck compared to, a huge AAA team are less, so it's just a physical thing. The amount of issues that we can fix per day are obviously fewer. But, we're taking our time, and I'm really happy that we are getting this time. And hopefully everybody will be patient with us, and then result, I hope, will be proven to be worthwhile the wait. We will do our absolute best to make sure it is.
So the first thing you do is create your character, right?
Yes, and it's quite special. I mean, we got the question about this prominent character that we've been showing. I mean, you saw already here on this video that there are tons of different characters that you can create, right? So the poster boy, if you will, that we created, it's like an avatar for our version of the character in this game, but it's really about the character that you create. So there are 6 different tribes in the game, and actually they all or each represent kind of a DNA string, if you will. So as a player, you're free to kind of mutate your own or morph your own version of each of these 6 DNA strands, if that makes sense. So it's not like choosing between 6 characters. It's like choosing between 6 DNA strands and morphing your own character, in those within those DNA strands, and then choosing fur and fur patterns, etc. But the big thing here is like also, the appearance of your character affects the stats. It's a full-blown RPG, in the background. So I want to put emphasis on that.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, while you're creating your character, are you seeing your stats go up and down while you're creating the shape of your character?
Yes. So it's kind of a seamless morphing with this, DNA creation wheel, and that will change the stats live. So you kind of have a little bit of a balance going on there. Like if you choose a very strong character, he might not be the strongest in intellect, for example. You cannot create a really buff warrior at the same time as you have a really strong mutant with the psionic powers. Eventually, as you go forward in the game, obviously you can choose to upgrade that any way you want. But in the beginning of the game, we're kind of putting you into this decision: are you a fast and nimble? Are you a smart mutant, or are you a warrior or whatever? And that also ties into the next phase, which we haven't shown a lot in the character creator, is that you choose a class. So that's also kind of more akin to your traditional RPG. Like, for example, a class would be a Psy-Freak. That's more of your X-Men mutant style, distant, let's say, magic user in a fantasy RPG. Sure. Or you can do Commando. That will make you look like Rambo, with the bandana and just a bare chest. Obviously, it's furred, but and ammo belt. And so there's a number of classes there that will dictate your starting weapon preferences, also your starting gear, and a few other things. So that's a quite important choice, which is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But it's like any other RPG, but our classes are a little bit more Bio-Mutant-ish, if you want. Yeah, here you see the crafting as well. So weapon choices are quite interesting in the beginning, but obviously you can unlock all of the weapon preferences later on as you level up.
Yeah, I believe you combine parts to create unique weapons. Is that right?
Yeah, we saw a little bit here in the video. It's like it's a very extensive crafting system, so it's super deep. I mean, you can take, like you saw in the video, we took a big toothbrush part that I scavenged from a billboard in the open world. I put some crazy handle on it, and then I can actually add on bits and parts on top of that toothbrush or whatever weapon I choose to create. So it's more like you're really crafting your own weapon, putting together I don't know how many thousands of combinations you can do. It's actually for ranged weapons, I think it's millions of combinations, but it's not about the combinations. It's about how you are like finding the parts that are representing the playstyle that you want. Obviously, we also have parts that are more rare than others, and they have special abilities. They like, you know, in Destiny or any other, you know, shooter game, they have custom effects. Some can shoot, you know, additional missiles or whatever for rare bits that you have to find and loot. But you also have some can shoot, you know, make your ammunition turn into fire bullets, etc. So the looting, the whole looting process is quite important in the game, and the way that you also use that creativity to craft. Something that we didn't show is that you can also craft your gear, so your clothes, your jackets, your helmets, whatnot, shoulder pads. And that also comes into play when you're entering like meta zones, what we call them, like heat zones, cold zones. And you have to find gear to be able to craft, you know, an oxygen mask to go into a dead zone, or, you know, a warm jacket to go into a cold zone, etc. So crafting and actually creating your own look, that's cool, but you also have to be mindful of the stats that goes along with that look. But you can also do some presets, you know, so you can immediately switch your outfit with the D-pad input for different presets. So you can do that.
Are we underwater here in sort of a submarine type vehicle?
Yeah. So this is one of the more like at the center of the world. It's a big tree of life. That's a representation of the current status of the world. So compared to other games, like we are currently playing as the world is dying. You can choose to participate in taking it down or help bringing it down, or try to save it. So there are 4 routes stretching across this whole wide open world in 4 directions. At the end of each route, there's a huge boss. And now we're looking at a few of them. So in order to get to the resolution of this tree of life and world destiny, if you want, the fate of the world, you're going to take on these world eaters. And at the end of the fight, you're kind of, you know, seeing the conclusion of earlier decisions, not to spoil anything, because you're also allied with one of these tribes that has a goal towards the conclusion of the end of the world. So each of these bosses, you're using, let's say, a vehicle. You mentioned, and we saw this submarine, but there are other versions that you saw. So that we have a mech there that you use to fight one of them. There's also a mount later on, and you will see some kind of Watski. So yeah, there are different means for those epic boss fights that you are not, you know, on foot. But there are also like other bosses, as you saw here, where you are on foot or on a mount or whatever you choose to be using, like these ones, for example. But these are like the big world eaters. Like this one is a big world eater, for example. This is the one that you use the mech for.
Gotcha. So some of this footage, a lot of it's giving me sort of a Legend of Zelda vibe. Was that one of your inspirations working on this game?
No, I mean, when we started with this game, Zelda Breath of the Wild was not out. But obviously we love the series, right? So it has inspirations from a lot of things, but also other popular culture. I mean, I don't think it comes as a surprise that we like Kung Fu Panda, for example. So but obviously, I mean, from an art style or whatever, I mean, it's a bit of Ratchet in there. People have told me. Gameplay-wise, you have, if you look at my shirt, Devil May Cry, or I think it's also, people are saying it's more like Arkham stylish, but also some parts of Ratchet, so it's a kind of a hybrid where, you know, we are 18 people now. A lot of the design decisions are made, you know, from us together as a team. So that means that there's a juxtaposition or a agreement on what we call a free flow combat system in general, and inspiration for the world. If that's what you're talking about, yeah. It's colorful and vibrant, and that's what I also love with Zelda. So, in a way, I was sidetracked a little bit there on the question. But.
No, it's fine. I didn't think this was possible, but I think that footage just made me even more excited for Bio-Mutant. Any sort of idea of when everyone's going to be able to finally play it?
I mean, like we are at the end phase of development, right? And I started with this when you asked me in the beginning, like, what have we been doing? And we're doing the same thing, you know, in a massive game like this, and it's very big. Like I say, it's the largest game that I ever worked on. You will have issues, right? You will have technical challenges to overcome, and artistic too. But at this stage of the project, it's more like cleaning out. You know, we're squashing bugs, right? So and trying to make these end decisions on. Making sure that the player, let's say, understands what to do. That's one of the challenges in an open world game. Like, you know, you always have this choice of how free are you in this world? And in the beginning of the development, we were kind of like, yeah, let's make the player totally free. But it showed like too much freedom is not really epic too, because you get too much freedom, you don't know what to do, right? So I think gradually we've also been working with trying to streamline that more. So you always know what you want, what you'd be supposed to be doing, but then you can deviate from that at any point and do whatever you want. I mean, because literally you're free to go after the first half hour of the game. You can really go anywhere you want in this world, but that's also a challenge for those that, you know, might be needing more help or guidance. So we're working on that, trying to conclude that part of the development as well. So it's more like user experience and primarily squashing those bugs.
Got it. Well, Bio-Mutant continues to look super, super cool. Stefan, thank you so much for giving us this update.
Thank you for having me.
Super oferty dla super graczy zawsze w Media Expert.